We're going to dive into a topic, boy oh boy, on social media. It has blown up and is everywhere. Why? We're talking Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Who thought that they would be controversial in 2021? Does it need to be revisited this very moment? So critics are taking issue because there's a new ride at Disneyland, and they're saying, listen, if you watch this on this ride, clearly Snow White is not consenting to the prince who is kissing her while she's asleep. One writer, though, for the Toronto Star saying this backlash is a tad overblown. Is it time to revisit this moment, perhaps others in our fairy tale canon?
Okay, so I will forever be mad at conservatives for just making an issue when people are upset about something or when people bring up something that needs to be explored. It's consent. Kissing somebody without their permission is not allowed, and there's a dialogue for it. We're moving forward in life. We're not going backwards, and I just don't think anybody wants their daughter to be kissed without consent. So I'm on the side of the people who are like, let's look at this. There's just always this backlash. People like, what are we going to do if we can't have Disney? We're just probably going to think about consent. I think it's more important. I mean, this is, again, this whole thing about cancel culture. It's healthy. It's accountability. Like, let's move forward. Like, we don't want to suffer in silence anymore. Well, no, we cancel. We don't cancel Snow White, but it can be opened up to critique. Like, what's wrong with that? Because I don't like the idea of a kiss without consent. And I like the fact that people have a problem with it because he made an example in the article and he said, it's not like it's, a real situation. He sort of laid it out. And it's like, well, if you can think of that, that means that, little girls probably will be looking at that like,
Stefan?
I feel like I'm going to get myself in trouble here. So as a self-proclaimed feminist and as a male, that's more in a form of allyship, I will always surrender to the female perspective and this lens on this. So if most women are on board and their lived experiences says, this makes us uncomfortable, it's time for us to just take it and believe it. That's where my heart is. But right. I will surrender to my heart, but I will also share what's in my head. Logically speaking, I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So if we are looking at Snow White and we now have this perspective, there is this unique chance to look at this story and use it as a teaching opportunity, to teach all little girls and all little boys that although Snow White's wish was to meet her prince, that you need to still understand consent, right? If someone shows interest in you, it's not your permission to just touch them without their consent. And so are we not missing out on these life lessons when we just cancel it out altogether? Side note, who cares about the prince? I always remember Snow White for the dwarfs and those lessons and the personality traits that come with it.
But I think that, if something is still happening right now, we need to address it. So people are still violating people. People are still getting assaulted. And I think that we're living in a time where theory and practice are coming. We're not just learning about things like consent and sexual assault and, ways that women, quite frankly, have to stay safe in society that many men are just, they don't understand. So this is practice now. Like we said in the last segment, this generation is not playing. We need to talk about it.
I want to go to Karen on Twitter, and she writes to us, seriously, talk to your children, whatever their gender, about healthy boundaries, and then let them watch whatever you deem appropriate. I doubt any child would ever be traumatized by the cartoon kiss on Snow White. Education is empowerment. And Karen, I'm kind of along the same lines as you are. And listen, every parent is going to do what they feel is right in their own home. But I'm raising a daughter. And so, I do agree that parents need to be talking to both genders, all genders of their kids about this situation. I don't know that I'm going to focus just on Snow White or fairy tales. Although, if you have a young girl who likes a lot of these cartoons and movies, as I do, you realize maybe the accumulation of all of these works of media, they are forming some kind of thoughts in your child's head about gender relations. Maybe not one movie alone, but certainly many of them. And that's why in our house, we have chosen the approach of watching these movies critically and asking questions. So you might have to pause and say, so what do you think about that? So, like Karen is saying, maybe you stop at that moment and say, you know, she's asleep. So what do you think about that? Or the more broader discussions in fairy tales as they apply, especially to girls, which are asking questions. Why is it that she always has to be saved by somebody else? Why is that somebody else usually a man? So what do you think about that? Do you think that maybe there's an opportunity for her to save herself? Like, there are these discussions that can happen while you're watching these, outside of these. I remember the first discussion I had with my daughter. She was 18 months old, and we were watching a Mickey thing, and I had said to her, how come Mickey's always the one driving the car when he's with Minnie? Really simple question, and she kind of thought about it. So you start to plant the seed of being media literate and critical with what you're watching and being inquisitive. They will find those answers.
Yeah, we have another comment from Laura on Facebook, and Laura writes, it's a cartoon. When we were growing up, we knew that cartoons were not real. Plus, he was saving her life and all the land, for goodness sake. He had to kiss her. Perhaps that's what's missing with the young ones coming up now. No one is helping them discern reality from fantasy. Thanks, Laura, for that. And you know, it's a valid perspective in the sense of I do think that that's what a lot of people feel. It's a cartoon. It's not simply a cartoon, though. It's a story. And stories are meant to shape value systems. The reason why, as Grelo said earlier, our Facebook and our Twitter blew up with response is because Disney is so deeply embedded in all of our childhood memories. And you can't separate the fact that Disney has shaped our worldview in so many ways. And the thing is, Disney has added disclaimers to several of their classic films, like The Jungle Book, because those films showed highly racist imagery. That said, they haven't put disclaimers on other films. If you watch back The Little Mermaid, which people love, and so do I, there are certain scenes that come through the lens in 2021 that people may be deeply uncomfortable with, like the fact that the Black characters all appear to be depicted as servants. That is weird. That is funky. There's no disclaimer there. Lady and the Tramp? Lady and the Tramp is actively racist against Asians. Those two cats... two cats with their eyes are actively racist. No disclaimer. So when we're talking about Snow White, Laura, I hear what you're saying. It's just a cartoon. But in the language of 2021, this is a cartoon that shows that a young woman has been drugged. That's what happened. She ate the drugged apple. She has been drugged. She is unconscious. And a dude comes along and kisses her. Now, to Melena's point, this happens all the time in real life. And so when you have young people internalizing those messages in a story and then romanticizing it, that the very least we could do is have conversation. I'm not saying wipe out the movie, but have a conversation.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you can take the good and the bad and put them side by side. There's a reason why there are so many people who want to have their princess moment at their wedding, for example, or they want to have a quote-unquote Cinderella moment at their wedding. Like, if you don't believe that these stories have impact on you, just look at sometimes how we even just speak about dating in 2021. Someone who's going to be your Prince Charming, your knight in shining armor. Like, the stories, they do shape us. There's a reason why they have also been so successful. So I'm not saying they're all bad, but I think we also do have to accept they have penetrated our consciousness.
Yeah, and you definitely don't even know how to act as a male, to be honest, because I had an ex-girlfriend and I didn't kiss her until like date 6. And she said, "What took you so long?" And I was like, well, I didn't have your permission. And there's nothing in your body language that suggested that you would have welcomed a kiss. But as we talk about the power of suggestion and imagery and videos and fairy tales and the over-romanticization of men taking the lead, what are we supposed to do when that's the expectation of us?
Well, the bottom line is don't kiss when a girl is passed out from a
You need
drug
consent.
apple. I mean,
Yes,
I feel
of
like that
course.
is the baseline, right? I think that's the baseline. And then, but to your point, Stefan, it is a murky space to navigate these days, right? Because everybody's rhetoric, including ours sometimes, I get it, is so loud and nobody knows where the boundaries are. But the point is that it's really good, I think, that you and the person you're talking about had a conversation. Why didn't you kiss me? And then you were like, I didn't know. I wasn't picking up on the signs. And she was like, oh, I thought I was giving the signs. I mean, that is what we're trying to do. But the thing is how we get there. When Snow White is lying on the bed because she got, knocked out by the druggy apple, she couldn't give any signs, period. The only one sign was, I'm passed out.